Alright. What's up, everybody? How are you guys doing? It is so good, so great, so amazing to be back in the place. Um, y'all know me. Y'all know us. We are Soulful Village, and we're here to review season 2 of Startup. Startup is one of the best shows on Netflix. I believe it originally started on Crackle, if I'm not mistaken, but then Netflix came in and said, we can do acquisitions too. We just do acquisitions of TV shows. And thus they brought Startup, and it's a hit. At least I know we like it, enjoy it. I'm sure other people like it, enjoy it, and we started watching it. Um, Obviously because the brother was in it. We was like, hey, that's brother from brother, doing brother things. But it's a really great show, especially for those of us who've ever tried to start a startup. Those of us who are in that world, who know what that's about, different things of that nature. And I'm going to pass it to this lady to give y'all the overall review. As you know, we don't do spoilers anymore, even though I like them, but we're not doing them anymore. But go ahead, give the overall review of the season.
Well, hello guys, how y'all doing? First of all, we are doing this in San Francisco. We are on our mini vacation, and as many times as we plan on record on our vacation, this is the first time we're actually doing it because it's a longer vacation. So shout out to San Francisco. Um, Also, before I get into it, if you haven't already, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, ding, so that you can get notified when we post something, especially since our posting frequency is not necessarily yet determined. But let's see, I'm going to start by closing this window. Oh, it's closed. Okay, well, it's closed. um so season 2, so thus far they have 3 seasons. I don't know if they're gonna come up another one, but they had 3 seasons as far. So this is season 2. Season 2 was all about starting over again after the first baby died, or the first baby was adopted by evil people. That's what it is. First baby was Jen Quinn, right? And they did that. They saw it through all that stuff. Turns out the people who said they were going to help them raise their baby were evil people who stole their baby. Period. That's a summation of that. And some of the selfish moves that Easy made didn't help with that either, because if she hadn't made those moves, things would have turned out differently. But again, it's her baby, and she saw that it was her right to do so. Season 2 then was started where she went through her whole depression period, all of that shit. Not to mention that end of season 1 is when her sister died, right? So, um, I guess I did spoil that. Yeah, my bad. But I won't do that again. Lo siento. Lo siento. So she had a lot going on at the beginning of season 2, and with all of that happening, she was coping with her hardship in not so healthy ways. Um, but what had happened was, um, um, why am I forgetting his name now? VP Tug.
Ronnie?
Ronnie. Ronnie had a situation in the hood because at this point he's not he moved from VP Thug to head thug, right? So he's a man of the hood now. He had situations that needed to be taken care of, wherein um, his son thought about certain things, and he was like, "Oh, I know somebody who can help me with that," because it was computer related that could help them solve their problem. So of course he turned to Easy, and he was like, "I'm not the person who to teach you all this stuff." Like, nah. She was mad. She was like in her feelings about it, but she turned it on. And so they work on this. That was essentially the seed on the floor, on the in the soil, and that grew into their new project, right? Because um, they started it. It was something small to help with solve the problem in the hood, but then they started seeing more of its potential. And white boy's name is what, honey? Nick. Nick sounds like a white boy name.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think his name was Nick, right? If it wasn't, oh well. The white boy in the Three Amigos. Um, so he came in and he's like, "Oh, I know how to manage it, and I can see all this potential for this thing." Um, and so with that, they brought it on and on and on and kept growing this thing. And they found, again, they're back at it again, wherein they need a somebody to invest. Um, this time they're a little bit more seasoned, just a little bit more. They found somebody. That person also ended up to be a tricky person, but he didn't treat them the same way the other person did. Just he has a different dark closet. Um, um, that's a little bit. That's even more personal this time to Nick than it is to Easy, right? Or than it is to the project itself. But this was also these are like work alarms, but this was also a chance for us to see how far Nick is willing to go as well, because he found out about the dark past of this new investor as it relates to his like family member, and he kept working with this person because again this person had the money, they had the potential to bring them where they wanted to go, and so he put up with it. So that sort of gives us a view into how far Nick is willing to go. So in a sense, slowly this thing is like we get to see more of the depth this each one of them are willing to go to get this magical land of owning a successful company that makes them money. And so they work with that. They put they succeeded, not easily, but they succeeded toward the end of the season. They succeeded in making this the success that they want, and crushing the competitor. The competitor happened to be the one who messed them, who essentially like did them wrong on the first startup. So that was a nice like payback in a sense on that in that sense. However, the way they did that was dangerous to say the least, and it was something that specifically Easy did. And so at the end of the season, we see her. She did the last like move in which was like detrimental to the competitor, and it wasn't a lie, it was truth. She revealed the truth that was detrimental to the competitor, wherein their stock went like room to the ground, and that helped their thing go up and all this other thing. Because of that, and because of how dangerous her competitor is, by the time that truth had come out, she had set herself out to be out of the country, so she was out like a light. And that's essentially how season 2 ended. The lessons in between all of that is abundant, and I will let him come in with the details, and as you talk, I'll pitch in and things like that. Back at you. You have the mic.
Appreciate that. All right, y'all. Again, I come in with the lessons. I guess that's my part now. The details, the lessons. I think this season, as we saw, or at least what they couldn't do in season 1, was it gave us more insight, as we talked about, to who each character was, and what was driving them to make Arachnid. That's eventually what they called this company, to grow. I can only I can put it in different contexts, but the best context to put it in is for those who've been in a startup. Sometimes you get an idea, the first idea just doesn't work. It's like you can have everything, and so many of us, and I'll put this out there, so many of us, we don't know what we're doing when we go into business or anything like that. We don't know numbers, we don't know marketing, we don't know finance, we don't know any of those things. You know what I'm saying? We know none of it. So naturally, more times than not, we're going to fail, right? I think the interesting thing that I enjoyed about this season was seeing the different ways that they started to spread the word. You know what I'm saying? Because it started with just essentially, yo, pass this to this person, pass this to this person, pass this to this person. And for those of us who weren't necessarily part of the tech community, I think it gave us an insight into how platforms like social media, I mean, like Facebook or Instagram grows, it's essentially through the user base. And however large your user base is, then you can start to say, well, this is our marketing chip. This is our leverage because we have X amount of XXX users and they want to be on this platform. So thus you can have that data, you can have that information, you can say, okay, look, this is a group for this. I mean, we've all seen the commercials where Facebook is coming out with, oh, we got a group for everything. There's a group for people with eyebrows. There's a group for people without eyebrows. There's a group for toes. There's a people for group without there's a group for it.
There's a group for toes.
Yeah, like there's a group for it. My bad, guys. Sorry. Lost the intro. Hopefully that didn't make too bad, but we have the master editor right here. So anyway, I think what this season saw, and in my opinion, it showed, at least from Ronnie's perspective, the different aspect of how people look at specifically black people in startups, in tech, in business. Because originally when they found the investor they want to go with, he asked him, like, what is your role in this company? Like, what do you do? Because for so long, we've been seen as just, oh, you're the scary black dude, you're the protector, or you're the warrior, or whatever. All these different things. Well, I would just say scary black dude, because warriors and protectors have different connotations and different meanings throughout history and so on and so forth, right? And Ronnie so often, and this one was screaming at the television every episode, if y'all don't give him his credit,
I get very into shows and movies, and this is why I'm not a big fan of movie theaters. I'm not the best person to go watch a movie.
Don't do it.
Especially if it's a movie that I really like, a movie that like either has like some of my favorite actors or actresses in there, or that has to do with like black social issues or any social justice, and so I'm like, no, this and that. I get so into it. I'm the perfect person to watch a movie at home with because I can pause it, have my power.
She will pause. I give her a new nickname almost every 2 to 3 hours, right? But the one that is most consistent is the pauser. She will pause. I cannot stand. Nope, I don't watch it. I don't like watching stuff with her. I really don't.
But you watch stuff with me anyway.
Because I have to.
You're more used to it now. No, but it was interesting you said that because I'm realizing something I didn't realize at the time. It's like, yeah, the investor asked Ronnie what his role is, but he didn't ask any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He didn't ask Nick. Yeah, okay, Easy. Maybe obvious that Easy is the tech guy who created the code, but he didn't ask Nick what his role is. You know what I mean? And essentially he ended up insisting that Ronnie be the security person. Not to mention, yeah, he has training because he was in the military. He has training in that aspect. He has training in being in the hood and having to protect his hood, all this thing. But in that stage of startup, that's not what his role was. Because at the end of the day, he ended up being the a very important part in them securing funding besides the first investor that they had. Like he's a great pitcher, he's a great salesperson. It's like his way of give it to me raw, like he doesn't BS. Like a lot of time, even when they found this first investor, Easy and Nick were like, we should hide what's happening, with the from the previous stuff, because they had baggage going into this thing, right? Clearly from the first encounter with the first terrible investor who's essentially coming after them. And they wanted to keep that away from the new investor. And Ronnie was like, nah, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to start up telling him what it is. And that was, so his way of, we're going to put everything on the table, that's literally his thing. And he gets the results every time. And that's overlooked because he's a black guy, because he's unfortunately hood brother. and who, not to mention, graduated from VP Hood VP to head dog
Head Thug VP.
president.
Again,
But yeah, no, I just realized that.
since she has all of these different names for all these different individuals. I think the other aspect that we saw in this season was a different relationship that they had with the FBI agent in the first season, because now he's in the bag, or in bed as they would say, with the Russians, because of what happened last season, and the Russians are kind of using him as leverage, saying that, yo, you have to do X, Y, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because we
The
did
whole
X.
alphabet.
Yeah, the whole alphabet. Because we did this for you, right? And to some extent, he almost becomes, in my opinion, a buffer between both worlds, because as we knew from season one, he was shasty and shisty. You know what I'm saying?
Shiesty.
Yeah, shouts out to Pooh Shiesty if you ever see this. But he also still has a human aspect about him. He still has a heart because of his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, he loves his daughter, he loves his baby girl, he loves everything he's about. And I really like his arc as a character. You know what I'm saying? In this story, because yeah, we knew he was wrong, we knew he was dirty, but when it came to it, he almost had that redemption, atonement aspect of, well, y'all can't do this to this because I won't allow it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people are just in it for the dollars and cents, and to a large extent he was. You know what I'm saying? In it for the dollars and cents. But it was like, okay, I still have a soul, or at least part of it. So with
He's trying to hold on.
right, and so what we saw with Nick, and it kind of was a bridge from the first season, was, everybody was saying that he was weak, that, you can't do anything, that you don't really serve a purpose because of all your privilege, which, again, isn't necessarily wrong. But I think, as Senna said, he wanted to assert himself and say, look, I've been on this project, I know this world, I know how to maneuver it. And it's kind of like, as we said in the first review, each person brings something different to the table. Like Nick, he is corporate. He knows all about that, how to deal with it. Izzy is the computer. She's a tech, things like this. But as Cinna put it, Ronnie, he's the real. And I think that's what so many people are missing so often in business. To go back to what they talked about in first season was, what's the why? Why are you doing it? Things like that, right? And just to see that realness, that understanding of, you don't have to conceal and hide. Like, either you're gonna deal the deal or you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there is some, as as you'll see in the season, yeah, there's some maneuvering, yeah, there is some, shady darkness that's like, dang, bro, it's like that. And it just depends on, how far you want to go, how far you want to grow. You know what I'm saying? There may be some of that. It doesn't always have to be that way. But, more times than not, everybody has something in their closet. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has something that they would prefer to stay in the dark. And as we talked about, just to hit on a little bit more, a very big tragedy happened to Ronnie this season and his family. And it caused one of the most stable things in the show, his marriage with his wife, to begin to disconnect and to disassociate. And I think for those of us, obviously like ourselves, who are married, and even those who are thinking about it or whatever, it makes you, obviously you don't want what happened to happen, you know what I'm saying, to your kids or anybody's kids or anything like that. But it makes you think about, wow, like all the different facets of a relationship and what it goes through. But I think what we liked about Ronnie, and it showed through, and what doesn't necessarily show enough for brothers on TV and Mike's, and it's getting a little bit better, but just his ability and his loyalty to say, look, I know we, at a different place right now, whatever, and again, you're fine, you know what I'm saying? But somebody else has my heart, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else has my soul. And that's hard to do, especially when you're in a limbo place, in a place where it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And
When
things
they're
are,
not returning your calls and all that.
right. Where you just are in a point of place where it's literally you just going off faith. You know what I mean? And that's something different. But I think what I enjoy most about this show, just personally from a business standpoint, is just seeing all the different ways tech can expand and tech can go and tech can be and there was something that's in the real world that is just like startup. I don't know what it was or what it is, but there's some company, some is it Bitcoin? I think it is cryptocurrency, right? Crypto, and I know they talked about it in the first season, but cryptocurrency reminds me so much of, you know, what's going on right now, or what's happening in startup because you know a lot of people aren't on it yet. Nobody really knows about it. Some people want to do it. Some people don't want to do it. Some people are like, well, this will break down this, and this will decentralize that, and this will break this down. Um, and there's so many, like I said, it's just so many parallels between the real world and the startup. And I think one of the big things that they were trying to establish, and for all those business owners who may watch this or whatever, you understand that you wanted to establish that niche, and their niche, to their fault and to their pro, was look, whatever you do on here is just not going to be tracked. The government will never see it. Like there's no central control. It's decentralized. That's the word, the big buzzword nowadays. You know, everything wants to be decentralized. It's a decentralized because if it's decentralized, then we control it. We can move it. We can show how it is. Just to speak on Nick briefly, we saw that he ended up starting a new relationship with their main investor's daughter, per se. That relationship is still kind of weird to me, and I mean I know they say she's daughter, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. Y'all can judge for yourselves and let us know in the comments below what y'all thought. But it's interesting to see what happens because I'll say this all the time as well. For those who are in relationships and things like that, and you know those who are seeking to be in relationships or whatever, you want somebody who blends. You know what I'm saying? You want somebody who can go at your pace and run at your space. You know what I mean? And I know I mix that up. Sometimes my brain mixes things around. But she essentially came in and saw, okay, look, you can do this. You can do that. You can do this. You can do that. You have this. You have these skills. You have these talents and abilities. And the reason was because she came from that world as well. She had those talents, those skills, those abilities. And they just meshed together. You know what I mean? And I know sometimes, you know, the old adage is very true. You know what I'm saying? You can't help who you fall in love with. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's you have to make the best decision for you, and hopefully love will come out of that. You know what I mean? And this is a little bit of off topic, but no, it's a little bit off topic. You know what I'm saying? But there's some people who marry, you know, and you marry for love and things like that, and love is enough. But then there's some people who marry because you just want more. You know what I'm saying? You want more, and you know, love is, I won't say secondary. Love is there, obviously, but the drive, the passion, the ambition is there, and I believe that's what I saw out of them and their relationship. You know what I'm saying? That drive and ambition of we want more, we want to expand this. So those were the main kind of details. And just from a hood baby standpoint, I love the Haitians and the Russians beef. That was great. I love that. I thought that was amazing. I really did. I thought that was amazing. Oh, we also saw during this season Ronnie's breakdown because you know he wasn't a drinker. You know what I'm saying? And for good reason. We saw why, and we also saw the breakdown of his mentality as the neighborhood started to become more gentrified, and people who were essentially foreigners started to move in and say, we wanted this, we want it that way, we want it this way. Mm-hmm. What else did we see?
And it was one thing about Ronnie, it was interesting to see, even when he was at his lowest, he still ended up being the support for the trio. Because Easy Don't Fuck Her so badly that they needed essentially to relocate and find shelter. And it's funny because whenever they need shelter from danger, he's their go-to. And there was a scene there And I know I'm not doing spoilers, but this particular one I'm gonna speak about. It was a scene there where he was like, "If you mess up again, I can't be that person for you guys anymore," because this was happening at the peak of his um, grieving, right? He had lost his one of his loved one, and he was deeply grieving,
Mm.
and they had fucked up to the point where they
Mm.
had to come to him, he who was grieving,
Mm.
to be their safe place.
Mm.
And it's like, how much more can this man hold on his shoulders? He's already holding his family on his shoulder. He's holding the whole hood on his shoulder. He's grieving,
Mm.
and y'all motherfuckers don't fuck up enough that he has to hold y'all on his shoulders. It was, I don't know. It's just like,
I
bruh, like,
I
let
think
this man breathe. I just
what
this
it
scene, I was like, he can breathe.
no, I think what it is that so often as a people, and this is just a people in America, and I would say throughout the diaspora, but especially in America, nobody really sees black emotions
Mm-hmm.
as, something that is real, something that's tangible, because due to the nature of our relationship and how we got to this country, most of us, um, it's just been through a passage of pain, and so much pain and so much hurt, and that you just bottle those things up. You know what I mean? And you don't think about it. You don't push towards it. You don't really express that. For what? For why?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't, I'll put it this way, because of the situations that many of us are in, we don't have the time to grieve, the time to say, well, let me check on my mental
Which
stability.
is unfortunate.
We don't have the time to really slow down, because life doesn't slow down. You know what I'm saying? Life doesn't stop. It just continues. And so we saw that aspect. And I think the other thing that I wanted to speak on was they ended up finding the person who committed this act, right? And there were three levels of justice, right? In my opinion, there was the hood justice of, we got him, we found him, what you want to do, you know what I'm saying, things like that. But then there was, I think, one of the most pivotal scenes throughout the season, because there are always a good couple of scenes in the season, but one of the greatest ones was when, in this season, in my opinion, was really the transitional period from Ronnie being President Thug to being Ronnie the businessman. You know what I'm saying? I'm really stepping into what that means. Because for so long, and this is the hard part about change and about being different, is that people know you as one way. Even the people who are closest to you, the people that love you the most, they know you for one way, for one thing, for one kind of tunnel vision way of being, right? And for those of us who are on to better things, trying to do things that make us elevate, uh, it's very hard to convince people that you're different, especially when you're put into situations, not always by your own intention, where you have to be that person. You know what I mean? And so literally, he's with his wife, and he says, "Look, I'm not gonna do this. If you want this done, you got to do it." And I think what we saw so often, and it was a very great dynamic, was, what do you do when you literally can play God? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, when you can literally choose, somebody's destiny, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think we saw the brink of grief. You know what I'm saying? Because so often, as a people, I don't think we necessarily take it out on the right situation or the right person. You know what I mean? But in certain instances where you have that moment, I think what I always say is our heart and our love and our humanity is in battle with, well, this is clearly what you want to do. You know what I mean? This is clearly what you should do. You know what I mean? The rule of Hammurabi. You know what I'm saying? Eye for an eye, tongue for a tongue, leg for this. You know what I'm saying? It's there, but despite us, and I use this quite frequently, but despite us not necessarily always having the base result of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we always seem to elevate and go higher to the top of the pyramid when the situation calls for it. And then the last point, because I said three, that I saw was the experience of quick, and you say your thing, and then we'll end it. And,
It's already recording, so it's
oh, okay. All right, you cut
But
that
no,
out.
no. Lastly, what I would say is it was interesting to see the importance of your surrounding and how not just it in so many ways. Oh my gosh, in so many, especially when it relates to running. And it seems like we were focusing on running
We're
in
not
this
trying.
season,
This is,
but it's just there was a lot of character development and nuances on his side that in this episode, I mean this season, that was like it was so much. But one thing was the way in which he ended up losing his family member, the way in which he grieved, the way in which that affected the surrounding, and how the surrounding even played a role in the outcomes that was so grave and heartbreaking, and how if it was a different surrounding, if he was surrounded by people with different mindset, and there were people in that setting where this happened that was different mindset, but those people were not the majority, and thus
You talking about the son? Yeah, not Ronnie. But
and
the son.
yeah, his son. I mean, clear. Okay, so we just put it out there. His son ended up, passing. But so this is gonna be a possible tiny bit of thinking there.
It's out there.
But it's one of those things that you kind of see coming in a sense, because you're like, oh, dang, it's gonna happen. He's making a flip for his life. He's like on a good path, and it's like it's so it shows you so much. It doesn't matter sometimes how good somebody is or how good of a path somebody is on, or how much of a great dream and aspiration and hard working, whatever you want to put it, somebody has. But if they're in the wrong surrounding, it's going to be nearly impossible to reach those goals and to be that person that they want to be, because your surrounding is almost as important, if not more important, than like what you want to do yourself, because it really draws you, either pushes you forward in a good way, or it draws you back and crushes you, regardless of how honed in, how who you are. Regardless, it's like
I think
raw.
I think the hard part is just you're being, let's put it this way, you're being a whale in a fish tank of goldfish. You know what I'm saying? And when you're being a whale, you don't fit. You know what I mean? And when you start to do things that aren't the culture, you know what I'm saying, that aren't the culture where you're from, you're going to have, like she said, one or two responses. Either people going to bump with you, or they're going to hate on you. Or they're going to say, why you acting different? Why you being snoo? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you ain't doing what everybody else is doing? Even though, again, you know that what everybody else is doing has only gotten this, or only gotten this result.
And
Why
the
would I
thing
do
is
that?
it's no fault necessarily of those folks, because they don't know better. It's just, it's like, dang. It's like,
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that you don't know better. I mean, you know better, you do better. A lot of people know. It's just you don't have the ability. You don't have the means. You don't have the time. You don't have the resource. You gotta have time to develop yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's not just oh, I'm a hop one day and be like, oh, let me start learning a new language, for example, right? Some people may, but then let's say you gotta work. Let's say you gotta pick up the kids. Let's say you gotta pay rent. All these different things, right? And you don't necessarily have the time to devote to just that one thing that can elevate you. I mean, again, let's put it this way. As we all know, if you learn how to speak Spanish, because that's like the second most widely spoken language in America, the brevity of jobs that open up to you are expensive. But how long does that take? How much discipline do you have to have? How many nights do you have to sacrifice? And it's like, somebody may even have the ability and desire to sacrifice, but you just can't do that. You know what I mean? And like you said, to get to your better point, if you don't have an environment or people around you who say, why you not doing this? Why you not doing that? Why you not? I mean, again, for those who come from a place like me, place like where I'm from, right? we've all heard stories about the big homies or whoever was just like, nah, you can't be around this. Nah, you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you better than this. You know what I'm saying? Nah, don't be hanging out with this one. Go on somewhere. Go home. Blase blah. Or we have parents who were like, nah, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. Despite what was around us, we weren't exposed to that because we knew that there were better things out there. There were better people, better places, better situations for us to be in. You know what I mean? And I think that was the true tragedy of this because little homie started to learn how to code. You know what I'm saying? Like some people know how to code. I know some stuff, but like he was really intentional and wanted to do it and was disciplining himself. And it's just again, you had every reason to root for him, but just situations just didn't pan out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we're gonna close that here. It's actually longer than we intended, but that was just such a packed season, and we're gonna try to make season 3 will be a little shorter, but make no promises. Again, if you haven't already, smash the like button, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, and let us know if in the comment below if you watch Sort of, how you like it, if you're going to watch it after seeing our review.
Let us know if you've done a startup or if you've been a part of a business or anything like that.
Yeah, and how was your experience in that? Okay, I think we are gonna get to a point where we're gonna share with you our a full experience of what our experiences have been like, starting up things and things like that. But until then, I bid you adieu. Have a beautiful day, weekend, evening, whatever, and stay safe out there.